It's funny, somebody said that this room is AI generated recently, and I'm like, get a flight and come here and check out the room. It's definitely not AI. This is where I store my 6,000 plus bottles of perfume. In fact, I think we're nearing close to 7,000. So I've got another deep dive video for you guys today. I've lost count. I think we've got around 75 fragrances in this video. And we have the theme of citrus floral fragrances. So citrus floral fragrances can mean citrus floral notes, as in orange blossom, neroli, and things like that. Or it could be perhaps bergamot blossom, lemon blossom, and all of those. But in this case, the theme is citruses and floral notes. So not necessarily meaning orange blossom, neroli, or other citrus flowers. It could mean rose, magnolia, jasmine, you name it. But the theme, I think, makes more sense with the citrus flowers of the citruses, I should say. But we do have rose and citruses and things like that. A lot of them are fresh, some are deeper, and I'll let you know when I'm smelling them on camera for you. And as I said, I've got around 75 fragrances here today in another deep dive. And just to come back to ScentFest SF, as the show is starting to wind down with bookings for exhibitors. We're definitely open for attendees. If you haven't booked yet your tickets, there's going to be some great announcements very soon of who's attending, who's coming, the exhibitors, the companies that will be present that you'll be able to, experience at the show. So there's going to be some great things. It's a first show, and I'm really, really impressed at how we were able to get so many brands to come and exhibit for the very first show. And we did it starting on March 8th when we announced it publicly and until now. And we're still in May. So around just a little over 2.5 months, we were able to have over 60 exhibitors of, traditional exhibitors. We have sponsors, retailers, agents, distributors all coming and bringing brands. We've got around 110 plus brands and companies present at the show as of the shooting of this video. So this is the start of something really awesome with ScentFest SF. And what I was leading up to, as things wind down with exhibitors, we're at the very end now. The clock is ticking to close exhibitors. In fact, some of the traditional booths are closed. We've got the smaller booths available. I'll get back to doing more deep dive videos, which I really, really enjoy doing. 3 hour plus. I'm not taking on 100 fragrances in a video as of yet, but you'll see those coming on the channel. So I'm happy to do citrus floral fragrances for you. But before I start the list, if you haven't yet gotten your tickets to ScentFest SF, please do. It'll be a very memorable event. This is the first of many to come on the West Coast, where we bring together international niche houses and fragrance houses together with experiential experiences with various types of setups that we've done with brands and companies that are all about fragrances. So the other cool thing is the Osmotech, as I've mentioned in many videos. There's a video with the Osmotech coming out very soon. Stay tuned for that. You'll learn more about that organization. It's the preservation organization for fragrances, lost formulas, lost fragrances, discontinued fragrances, and you can smell them. So they're bringing 25 fragrances, and the whole list will be announced very soon. But we've posted about it on ScentFest SF Instagram account, and you can go find out some of the fragrances that they're bringing, the original formulas of the original fragrances. So you'll be able to smell Houbigant's Fougère Royale, how it was in the late 1800s when it was launched. So it's a great experience. I think the price of the ticket is totally worth it, especially for the Osmotech. But as I said, you'll have over 110 brands that you'll be able to experience the fragrances of in one setting. So awesome weekend of activities. There's all kinds of events happening in the city as well, all around ScentFest SF. So you're going to not want to miss out on this event. It's going to be awesome for the first time. All right, so get your tickets. I have it linked in the info box. Let's get started with the list. As I said, this list is around 75 fragrances. I've kind of lost count. Unfortunately, I had around 71, but I had to remove some and I had to add some. So it could be around 75 bottles. Let's get started with the first fragrance from Aphorismes by Dominique Ropion. This is Crazy Garden. You guys familiar with this house? So this is Dominique Ropion's brand, and he's the perfumer behind this. This bottle is so heavy. In fact, the cap is almost as heavy as this bottle. So this is a really heavy cap, as you can see right here. So Aphorismes of, as the name is right there, by Dominique Ropion is what the name of the brand is. That cap is heavy. So citrus floral fragrances is the theme. We're starting off with this one, Crazy Garden. The name is kind of there to kind of give you an idea. This to me has green qualities because it is got the garden name in the garden word in the name of the fragrance. So it's a lot of citruses, citrus floral notes, or floral notes in general with citruses, and there are green notes as well. This is one of my favorites from the line. In fact, for me, the entire line, I was a bit underwhelmed with the fragrances, but for me, the two fresh ones are my favorites. And generally, I love fresh fragrances, but I don't find them to be super amazing. But when I smell the whole entire collection, for me, I love the Crazy Garden. There's another fresh one that I really like. But what I like here is the intensity of the flowers, the intensity of the juicy citruses, and the combo of the green notes in there as well. So let me know if you've gotten your nose on the collection called Aphorismes by Dominique Ropion, and most importantly, Crazy Garden. Let me know, add a comment below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. We've got Arquiste, L'Or de Louis. You guys familiar with this one? Kind of a cool visual to see right there. This is not Atelier d'Azur, but we have several Atelier d'Azur fragrances coming after this. 5 of them, all around citruses and flowers. So this is it's a citrus floral fragrance. It's like Orange Blossom Neroli, but this does have some underlying animalic notes in the base. So it does get a bit musky, but it's got a very vintage quality. You definitely experience that whole spring quality of the citrus floral notes in here. This is citrus floral notes. So you've got quite a bit of that. But it does get a bit musky and on skin even further. So it's a bit on the daring side. If you don't like, musky kind of animalic fragrances, maybe stay away from this one. But it's almost like, for me, I find citrus floral notes to be pure, clean, angelic, soft. But you've got kind of like a Beauty and the Beast thing happening here, because I find citrus floral notes to be super beautiful. And you've got that here. But I wouldn't say it's super animalic, but depends on how much you can tolerate. But L'Or de Louis by the house of Arquiste. This is the only Arquiste I know of that has the gold floating in there. So that is L'Or de Louis from the house of Arquiste. Now we're starting off with Atelier d'Azur fragrances. We've got 5 of them here back to back. So this is Blanc Polychrome, first from the house of Atelier d'Azur. This to me has a very tart, astringent, citrusy combo with the flowers and also the citrus leaves. It's quite soapy and clean, and also very juicy, a bit tangerine-y, maybe a bit grapefruity. There's a zing about it. In fact, this was actually in my Summer Zingers fragrances deep dive video last week, where I combined grapefruit and ginger and zesty kind of citrusy tart citruses. But this is also a lot of citrus floral notes, but it does have that kind of zesty, zingy quality about it, which I love. And I love tart citruses quite a bit when it's extremely hot outside. There is definitely a cooling quality about tart citruses, which I quite like. And this one definitely is solid with that idea. Are you guys familiar with Blanc Polychrome? Let me know, add a comment below. So we do have the gold flakes floating in here as well, as you can see. This is the first brand that the first time I discovered it was Lune Feline, and I was kind of mesmerized with the gold flakes floating around. So I ended up buying Nympholine. Not only was it because of the gold flakes, but I also enjoyed that vanilla kind of musky, animalic, not super animalic, but musky kind of balsamic vanilla fragrance. So let's move on to, let's see, where are we? Nuda Verita. Nuda Verita is kind of an aquatic / marine take on light citrus floral notes and a lot of jasmine with juicy citruses. But you definitely have the aquatic marine touch, which is quite tolerable. It's not super intense. And I was a little bit challenged with this when I first started smelling it. My nose and palate has totally adapted to and adjusted to super marine smelling fragrances, especially notes that are like cologne. But to me, there's a slight beachiness in this that is also kind of super soothing. It's quite good. I enjoy it. And I think it's one of the more popular ones from the house, Nuda Verita. In fact, it makes sense it's one of their more popular ones because they have an extract of it. Now, what's the difference? That's the extract. For me, it's still a fresh fragrance, but it does have a much more deeper quality. And the freshness is kind of toned down, and what's in the base has been kind of amped up. But still, it's floral, and it's citrusy. But in this case, the citrusy qualities have been toned down a little bit. But you do have some citrus floral notes along with a lot of jasmine. And that whole beachy aquatic marine thing has been amped up as well in the base. Kind of like the extract a little bit more because I like that depth. The original is kind of fresh, a little bit more fleeting. And here it's deeper and a bit more robust. Who's a fan of this particular fragrance? I kind of like the extract quite a bit. There's definitely, even though it has that kind of marine-esque quality, to me it's acting more creamy, almost like a beachy, sunscreeny kind of effect, which I quite like. I kind of find those kind of fragrances to be more cozy, and so it gives me that kind of a vibe there with the Nuda Verita Extrait de Parfum. So let's move on to the next one. This is Pomelo Riviera. Pomelo referring to grapefruit-like fruit. So this is super zesty, zingy, citrus. But along the way, they also have citrus floral notes in here as well. And, you know, we are headed to summer. And some of you mentioned the other day, oh, it's been super hot. Why do you air spring videos? Because I have some spring videos that haven't aired yet that I've already, prepped. But I'm airing it. But, some places have extreme heat already, and summer is not even here yet. And some places are really cool. We've had probably around 60 here, 60 degrees. So it's been nice and cool, which I quite like. And if you've never been to San Francisco and you're coming for ScentFest SF, don't expect extremely warm weather here. I mean, we do have heat waves, so it could totally be like that. But 9 out of 10 times it can be cool and drippy with fog. We have Carl the Fog here. So he'll be present, and then it clears up like in the afternoon. So we are dealing with around 60 degrees most times. So it goes up to around 65 to 68 degrees around this time of the year, but it, starting out around 55, 56, and 60 is probably the best temperature. So for me, I like these kind of fragrances when it's warmer, but also when it's cooler. They're definitely the kind of fragrances that pick you up, and uplifting, kind of happy fragrances that are giving you like bright, sunshiny kind of an effect with their smells. So Pomelo is exactly that. It's quite zingy. It's spicy with the citrus, plus floral and fresh. So that's Pomelo Riviera. Then we've got Riviera Sunrise, another one from the house that is in the same theme, fresh theme, and from the house of Atelier d'Azur. Who's a fan of their citruses? Let me know. Add a comment below. And what are your favorite Atelier d'Azur fragrances? This one to me is more of a straightforward, juicy citrus and flower combo. And the floral notes are not super distinct, whereas the previous one, I can tell quite noticeable with the orange blossomy kind of notes. Here, they're a bit more nondescript, like you can't really identify what kind of flowers it is, but there's definitely a floral quality. There's a bit of an aromatic quality as well, but super juicy. Like there's a lot of juicy citruses here. It's almost like you're making, you know, straining the fruits and you're making juice out of a bunch of different kinds of citrus fruits, which I quite love the smell of, and that's what you have here. Not super tart, but there's some tartness in there. There's a nice combo of sweet and tart here together for me. It's not super sweet, and it's also not super tart. There's a little bit of a green quality in there as well. So that is Riviera Sunrise. All right, next, going to the house of Boadicea the Victorious, we've got a fragrance called Hanuman. Who's a fan of Hanuman? This stuff is so luxurious, so gorgeous. Deserves to be smelled, guys. This is amazing. This stuff does remind me of, it kind of hints at a little, ooh, that bottle, that cap is like loose. It kind of reminds me of a orange blossom Neroli forward Bal d'Afrique. If you love Bal d'Afrique and you love orange blossom and citrusy notes like that, you've got to get your nose on this. But it is super expensive, but man, it's good. It's so damn good. Sadly, this brand is overly expensive. That's the unfortunate part, but they've got some amazing, amazing fragrances. Like this late discovery for me, I absolutely love the way it smells because I was a big fan. I was a really big fan of Bal d'Afrique for a long time when I first started doing fragrance content. And I was recommending that one quite a bit. Here, I got bored of it, right? I got bored of it. But this, to me, reignites my interest in Bal d'Afrique. But I'm not going to Bal d'Afrique. I'm coming here because this is also chock full of a lot of citrus floral notes and citruses, along with that Bal d'Afrique kind of effect of what Bal d'Afrique smells like. So good. Let me know if you're a fan of Hanuman. Hanuman from Boadicea the Victorious. And then one more fragrance from the house of Boadicea the Victorious. We've got Valiant. Oh man, this is also super, super delicious. Anybody into the citrus floral notes must get your nose on this. It's that good. It's very decadent in the way those kind of notes are working here. It's also super powdery, which typically citrus floral notes are more juicy because there's a lot of citrus juicy notes in there. But this comes off very powdery, almost to the effect of something Guerlain-esque. Imagine L'Heure Bleue from Guerlain going in the direction of Orange Blossom Neroli. That's the kind of effect this gives me. I'm a big fan of L'Heure Bleue. To me, it's classic. It's very soap-like. To me, it smells like a very luxurious powdery soap. And this, to me, is super powdery. But imagine L'Heure Bleue and how powdery and soapy it is with the addition of a lot of orange blossom and neroli. It is fantastic. It's so good. Just the negative for it is that it's so expensive. Really, really expensive. But to me, very, very luxurious, super decadent. I love it. So that is Valiant. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. Add a comment below. All right, next we're going to the house of Bon Parfumeur, down to less expensive fragrances. This is 001. And 001 is Orange Blossom, Petitgrain, and Bergamot. So it's a typical citrus combo. You've got the citrus flower, Fleur d'Oranger or Orange Blossom. You've got the citrus leaves, Petitgrain, and then you've got the actual citrus fruit of Bergamot. And it's kind of in the traditional eau de cologne style. Think Neroli Portofino 4711 and things like that. But it's nicely done. Super juicy, sweet tart, very floral, green bitter. Fantastic fragrance to wear in the summertime. Nicely done. Simple, clean, soapy. That's 001 from Bon Parfumeur. Then we've got 002. Now this one is also typical citrus floral fragrance. We've got Neroli, we've got Jasmine, and we've got Ombre Blanc. So these are the highlighted notes. Along the way, you also have the citrus fruits and things like that, because there's definitely a juicy quality here. But this one is a bit on the green side as well. I think we're getting the greenness from the flowers, because they're a bit green leaning, because they could be young flowers and have a bit more of a green effect. But very floral, very floral. I feel like there's Petitgrain here. They don't mention it as a note, but that's typically using these kind of flowers. I mean, these kind of fragrances. So you've definitely got that kind of green effect. It could also be that there's a little bit of Lily of the Valley here, because it does have a little bit of either Lily of the Valley or what's the green floral note? I'm drawing a blank with hyacinth. Yeah, a kind of a greenish smelling hyacinth note. But once again, so different from the other. The other one being more traditionally eau de cologne like. This one to me is a bit different. Very floral, very citrusy, very fresh, and also musky, because it has white musk in the base. I'm sorry, white amber in the base. Ombre Blanc, it says. So that's 002. Let's move on to the next fragrance. Going to the house of BDK, we've got Citrus Riviera. Some of these fragrances were in the video last week. So if you caught the Summer Zingers video, I was just making sure I added zesty, zingy fragrances. But this is very juicy. Man, it's super, super juicy. If you like your citrus fragrances to be juicy, pulpy, this has that effect. But you've got a lot of citruses, juicy citruses, along with citrus floral notes. This, to me, is also kind of, the idea might be similar to the 4711s, Neroli Portofinos, and things like that. But I feel like the juices are amplified. The citrus juices are more amplified. So it comes off kind of pulpy, juicy. But super delicious. Really, really wonderful. And super refreshing. So that is Citrus Riviera. Now I've got this. This is going to be a bit of a curveball here. It's a citrus floral fragrance. And the floral note in this one is not white flowers. It's rose. We're talking about Impadia. And this is also not necessarily super fresh. It's a bit more deeper. So, but still, you're combining a lot of citruses here with the rose note. A lot of people do mistake this or find it has similarities to Delina or Guidance. I can kind of see that. It's a rose. It's a deep rose, but with a freshness about it. Do you guys get more Guidance or do you get more Delina here? For me, it reminds me more of Guidance. But it starts off fresh and citrusy. The rose is overpowering right away. And it gets a bit deeper, warmer, and has more depth in the base and the dry down. So that is Impadia from the house of BDK. Who's a fan? Add a comment below. Up next, we've got Sel d'Argent. Does that mean silver salt? Who's a fan of salty fragrances? The trend has been around for a bit, although I don't see them as much as I used to. This is very salty. Salty, a bit beachy, minerally, but along the way, citrus floral. So this to me is a traditionally citrus floral notes mixed in with a salty minerally quality. So to me, it has a beachy effect, but more about the sea salt rather than like sunscreen. I think salt might be an acquired taste, by the way, just an FYI. But imagine if you add salt to something sweet, it cuts down the sweetness, although the effect is still there, but it's not as sweet in your mouth. Kind of like that here as well. It's not super sweet. So that's Sel d'Argent. Then we've got BDK's Villa Neroli. So now we have citrus floral notes here. And again, I've been mentioning this one tends to go warmer. And it does remind me a little bit of the idea of Love Don't Be Shy when it warms up eventually. But it's a sweet, to me, Orange Blossom Neroli is sweet. So it has sweetness. But eventually also it has some vanillic sweetness in the dry down. So this one has more depth. If you're into making sure you don't wear warmer, kind of sweeter fragrances in the summer, you might want to be cautious about this. But it does have that freshness of the Neroli up top, which to me, I associate with more summer appropriate fragrances. But it does get deeper, sweeter, and hinting at fragrances like Love Don't Be Shy. This doesn't get as sweet and fluffy, marshmallowy like Love Don't Be Shy does, but it does hint at it because it does have sweetness. So that is Villa Neroli from BDK. All right, next we've got Byredo Sundazed. Sundazed, great name for a fragrance. I do find citrus fragrances, citrus floral fragrances to be sunny. This is super fresh and sweet, but I wouldn't say this is sweet from sweet notes. I feel like it's sweet from the sweetness of the flowers. Actually, as I was pulling out the fragrances, I have Jo Malone's Orange Blossom in the mix, and the juice has gotten darker. So when you smell Orange Blossom off the tree, I get the smell of the citruses in a floral form, but there's something honeyed in the back. So when I saw that this had turned so dark, because it was clearer before, it just ages, I smelled it and I'm like, whoa, it's got a bit more honeyed effect happening. So it's aged and it's taken on a bit more of a honeyed quality. And try it sometime. Go into an orange blossom tree or any kind of a citrus tree, and if you see the blossoms on there, smell it and see if you can get a honeyed effect behind the actual floral smell. Because back there is that kind of honeyed sweetness. So why did I say that? I get sweetness from Sundazed is what I'm trying to say, but it's super fresh, like really, really fresh and citrusy. That's Sundazed from Byredo. Who's a fan of Byredo, by the way? I need to do a deep dive on Byredo. I don't have that many fragrances, although I probably have around 20. Maybe I can do that once the show is over, Scentfest SF is over. But let me know if you guys want a Byredo video, the deep dive. Maybe I'll have a few more. I'll try and buy a few more fragrances from them. They rarely go on sale, Byredo fragrances, so that's why I kind of don't buy them that much. They do go on sale. I've mentioned them before for various discounts. It's just they don't go on sale like super discounted. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, let's move on to the House of Chanel. I've got two from their like Eau collection. This first one is Deauville. I was actually going to feature Paris, but I didn't have Paris. I thought I did, but I don't have it. I never bought it. But this is Paris Riviera. Who's a fan of this collection? For me, my favorite is... Where is my favorite? Did I even feature it in this video? I think I put it aside. One sec. Yeah. Last week I featured Paris Biarritz in the Zingy video, and I could feature it in here too. So I didn't have it here. I just grabbed it and I'll speak about it, but it'll be a bit off, not in alphabetical order, I should say. So this is Paris Deauville. It's my, no, I'm sorry. Is that Paris Deauville? Okay, I think I sprayed the wrong one. Let's start over. Sorry about that. So let's go directly to Paris Biarritz. That's the first one. This to me is green, citrusy, and citrus floral. Super zesty, zingy, fresh, clean. One of my favorites from this collection. In fact, it's my favorite. I like the greenness. I like the freshness. I like the juicy citruses. Light aromatic touches in there. It's a perfect summer fragrance with this theme of waters. Oh, is what this collection is. I won't talk too much about this one. I want to talk about the two others, but definitely a great one. If you're looking to keep your collection Chanel and you want a fresh citrus, Paris Biarritz is definitely one of the best. I absolutely love this one. Now let's talk about Deauville, my second favorite from the line. Paris Deauville is sort of similar, but with some different twists. But very citrusy, lots of citrus floral notes. I almost get a bit of a fruitiness in this one as well, whereas the other one didn't have that. It's green, it's citrusy, it's clean, it's soapy, juicy. This one has a slight fruitiness mixed in with the Deauville. So I've visited the little city, or is it a town in France called Deauville, several times, and I've been to that original little Chanel boutique, boarded up. It says this is where Chanel started her boutique. So I think the collection is about various places that Chanel had presence. I could be wrong with the name, the collection, why the different cities, but probably that's what it is. I don't know what she did in Biarritz, but for sure I've been to both Biarritz and Deauville, and in Deauville for sure there's a little boarded up store, and I guess it's got a big writing on it that says this is where Chanel had a boutique or something. I think it was the first boutique she had in Deauville. But yeah, Deauville to me, it's similar to Biarritz, but with a bit of fruitiness. Almost could be also like a big presence of something Magnolia-like. Then we're going to Paris Riviera. So this one to me is, once again, very citrusy and super floral as well, but also quite powdery, I should say. It's I think my third favorite might be Edinburgh, which is super masculine. It's an earthy green, vetiver kind of aromatic fragrance. This one, on the other hand, is quite powdery, but still very citrusy and floral. To me, I feel like this one, maybe Biarritz should have been this one, and this one to be, but I don't know. Maybe they got the idea to do, I think the first three was Biarritz, Deauville, and Venice, and then they launched Riviera and Paris. Not my super favorite, but if you like a bit more of a powdery presence with a citrus, you should try Paris Riviera. All right, next we've got Commodities Nectar, which I featured last week as well. I've got that bottle because this is the version of their fragrances that are, what do you call it? Archived, as you can see right here. This is certainly one of my favorites from the line. I was going to say it's my favorite, but if it's archived, it's not necessarily still in the market. I think it gets dropped every once in a while and they might run out. Also, I think it's not sold everywhere. You have to go to their store or order it online. But what I love about it is super zesty, zingy, green and floral, juicy, drippy, very refreshing. What I also like about this one, it's a nice addition to add freesia to the citrus floral notes. you have a nice contrast and a little bit of a different smell. I love the smell of freesias. Super love them. And you have a lot of the juicy citruses here, including their florals and the green leaves. Plus, you got the freesia in there, which adds a nice twist to that whole effect. It's yum. One of my all-time favorites. Really, really love this one. Check that out. It's Commodities Nectar. And then we go into the house of D'Orsay. No. We're going to the house of Costume National. This is J. So we've got two fragrances back-to-back created by Fanny Bell while she was at IFF. By the way, Juicebox and Costume National are the same owners, and both Costume National and Juicebox are going to be at our show, Scentfest. If you're curious to know what the brands are, you'll be able to meet the folks behind Costume National and Juicebox. And I also didn't mention, you'll be able to meet people from the brands Atelier des Ors, BDK, Boadicea the Victorious. So come to the show. But Costume National J, I think Fanny Bell does really great citrus floral fragrances, at least from what I remember when she was at IFF, International Flavors and Fragrances. I think she's moved on to Givaudan. She just created a fragrance for Une Nuit Nomade called Spicy Road. I love the brand, but it's not one of my favorites. I mean, I like it. It's not like a wow for me. But also, it's not a white floral combo, citrus floral combo. Here, I love J. It launched with I. I was a Julian Rascanet, or is a Julian Rascanet creation. J is Fanny Bell. I is more like Middle Eastern style, oudi kind of amber, maybe leathery. I can't remember now off the top of my head. I haven't smelled it. But this is super fresh, very white floral, citrusy, juicy, clean and soapy, and a little bit powdery as well. So that's J. Don't forget, they'll be at our show. And then she's also done this one for D'Orsay. It's LB. I'm not going to say the French. I'll butcher it. Accour perdu. This is also really good. I mean, I'm all over the fragrances of in their extracts now, but these fragrances in these clear bottles are also quite good. In fact, in 2022, I discovered the line for the first time in the Milan Campo Marzio, and I found them there at the store because I was doing a little shopping after Aix-en-Provence had ended, and I discovered them there. I was just like going through everything, and they probably had like 20 fragrances that they launched at once, and smelling every single one of them, enjoying them. This one totally stood out, this LB. It's much powderier, much more powderier than the Costume National J. But once again, I think this one also might have a little iris. I think that's what I'm getting. That's why I'm getting a little bit of a powdery effect here. But it's citrus floral notes. I love this. Citrus floral notes, just something very cozy and comforting about them. I don't know, it's because I love citrus trees myself. I just think the fruits that they produce are super awesome. And also, growing up, we've had citrus trees in our backyards and gardens and things like that. So the smell has totally left an impression on me, and I enjoy it that way. But to me, it's super clean, citrusy, powdery, soapy. I love it. That is LB from D'Orsay. All right, now we've got Diptyque Eau de Sens. I don't know why, but this visual in this reminds me of some of the animated visuals from Hitchcock films. Whoever is a fan, do you remember? Most importantly, Vertigo. I don't know why, that's what it reminds me of. Big fan of Alfred Hitchcock, but that's what this kind of reminds me of. But this is a fragrance I've worn quite a bit of. I think it launched in 2015. It's an eau de toilette, it's not an eau de parfum, so it's super fresh. But also it's a very powdery take on Orange Blossom. To me, it almost like rice powder here. I mean, it's super soapy. That soapiness always comes with the citrus floral notes. To me, I think that instantly screams, soapy. So here we have that, but it's also quite powdery, and I'm getting something rice powdery in here. So it's a bit different than the last one and the last several. So different to me. But also, it's quite good. It's very, very clean. All right, so that is Eau de Sens from Diptyque. They've never made an EDP of that one. I'm not sure why, but maybe they just figured they don't need an EDP of that. Let's see, where are we? We are at E. So we've got 8 and Bob's Champ de Provence. Yeah, this makes sense for the name for this fragrance, Provence. And the French Riviera, and a lot of citruses in the Mediterranean. Clean, very clean and soapy. A little bit powdery and also a little bit green, I think. But there's a major juiciness here. And a little bit of greenness. Did I say that already? I think the bottle kind of comes off a bit. I mean, it shows you it's green, and it comes off. It does have definitely a green effect. They've changed their bottles now. I think the bottles are, I think the juice now is the color of the bottles that used to be. It's a clear bottle. I think from what I remember, I haven't really held the bottles in my hand currently, but they did change their bottles, and I think no longer are they colored bottles now. The juice is colored. Is that correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this one's really quite good. Probably my 3rd favorite from the line, maybe 4th. So that's 8 and Bob, Champ de Provence. All right, let's see. So then we've got 2 from Electimus London. First of which is Imperium. Who's a fan of Electimus London? This one, to me, is almost like the pulp of some citrus fruit that's sweetened with something sugary and also black peppery. It's quite yum. I kind of want to just eat it. Wow, I love that. It's almost like you're handling the fruit and you're trying to peel the actual fruit from the skin, and you've got the oils from the skin on your fingers, and then the juice of the actual fruit is dripping on your hands. It's kind of what an idea it gives me. But there's definitely warmth in there. I feel like there's vanillic notes. It's warming up, but it starts off quite fresh and juicy and fruity and floral as well. There's definitely flowers here, which probably is adding to the effect of the freshness and the cleanness. So that's Imperium. That's actually quite good. Up next, we've got, excuse me, Vixer. Let me know if you're a fan of this house and what are your favorite fragrances. This Vixer, to me, citruses, floral notes, and once again, creamy, beachy effect. Almost a bit like sunscreen, but very powdery also. There's probably some sandalwood in this. Got a very cozy effect, but not as juicy as the previous one. slight tropical leanings. Beachy, tropical, very powdery, very creamy, and citrusy. But again, the citruses are not juicy on this one like the previous one. So that is Vixer. So Vixer is in a dark bottle, and this Imperium is in a clear bottle. It's interesting why it's dark. Anyway, that is Electimus London Vixer. Then we've got Essential Parfum Neroli Botanica. This is a wonderful, clean, soapy citrus floral combo. And a little bit green leaning. And also powdery. Wait, is that the right fragrance? Yeah. This, to me, comes off green for sure. Also, in addition to white flowers like citrus florals, neroli, I think we have some tuberose in here, some additional white floral notes. It's juicy, but not as juicy as the Imperium. But there's definitely a juicy quality here, like drippy, juicy citruses and citrus fruits. But you've got neroli, so orange blossomy notes, and tuberose and white floral notes. It's quite white floral. So that is Neroli Botanica from Essential Parfum. And then we've got Cologne Indelible from Dominique Ropion. Frederic Malle, created by Dominique Ropion. Probably one of the best mass market niche fragrances that are inspired by fragrances like 4711. It's super strong. It's very fresh, super fresh, I think. Very green. And then it's not as sweet to me like other orange blossom neroli fragrances can be. This one comes off a bit green, a lot more green, and like a younger, not as super bloomed orange blossom or citrus floral notes. But it's quite good. Really, really wonderful. I mean, Dominique Ropion does great work. Not everything is great, but I think he's definitely one of the masters. And this is definitely one of his best for the House of Frederic Malle. Cologne Indelible from the House of Frederic Malle, created by Dominique Ropion. Let's go to Pacific Rock Flower next from Goldfield and Banks. This is the continuation of, excuse me. Well, I wouldn't say this is a flanker of Pacific Rock Moss. This is Pacific Rock Flower. But fresh and citrusy, and also very floral, with a beachy aquatic effect in there as well. This has grown on me. I didn't really care for it as much before. There's definitely a slight minerally effect happening. And I feel like also there's a slight fruitiness in there. Slight. But yeah, very white floral combo, mineral marine aquatic effect for sure, and a freshness of citruses. And the citruses do come off slight bit juicy, but I wouldn't say you're like swimming in a lot of citruses here. I think floral notes are dominant. All right, so that is Pacific Rock Flower from the House of Goldfield and Banks. All right, up next, we're going to the House of Gucci, and I've got 3 Gucci fragrances here, starting off with 1921. Beautiful green bottle. Once in a while, I post about these at really great discounted prices, so look out for my videos on those budget fragrances. And if I find anything really highly discounted for the 2 Alchemist Garden fragrances I'm going to talk about today, I'll let you know. But this is citrus flowers, lots of juicy citruses, and a bit of mossy notes in the dry down. So you've got that really great mossy effect happening, which I quite like. Current mossy notes, including this one that I've been also talking quite a bit about, Vigorous Cologne. Vigorous Cologne, man, it's so good. I ordered a second bottle. I think it's going to be the fragrance of summer 2026 for me. But going back to Gucci 1921, not as mossy as Vigorous Cologne and also not as masculine. For me, Vigorous Cologne is definitely a lot more aromatic, spicy, kind of throwback to men's cologne style fragrances like Eau Sauvage, Paul Monsieur, and things like that. Here with 1921, it's more like an eau de cologne style with a mossy effect in the base. So it's kind of green leaning, very zesty. It's got a kind of a zingy, spicy, juicy effect happening, and very, very fresh, really fresh. And a great addition to their collection of fragrances here in the Alchemist Garden series of Gucci fragrances. So that's 1921. Let me know if you're familiar with that fragrance. Then we're going to Fiori di Neroli from Gucci. So we've got this orange color bottle and then the green one. The orange colored bottle, it's more about the Neroli note. So Neroli is the citrus floral orange blossom note that they have here. Very soapy, a bit sweet, very, very fresh and citrusy as well. There's a little bit of warmth here. I don't think this is super fresh. And the warmth comes in the base. Fiori di Neroli, I think it's a nice take on the Neroli note. Neroli-focused fragrances. Totally different than 1921, by the way. This one is sweeter, not as green, warmer, but still very fresh. There's something familiar about this one that I'm reminded of something. I can't quite pinpoint it, but it reminds me of a smell I've smelled before. Not this fragrance, but something it reminds me of. It reminding me of another fragrance. So that's Fiori di Neroli from Gucci in the Alchemist Garden collection. Then we've got Gucci's Flora, but this is Flora Gorgeous Jasmine. So I was looking through the entire collection of Gorgeous series fragrances, the Flora fragrances. This is the only one that has citrus. I thought the Magnolia would have citruses, but it doesn't. So this is a very juicy, fresh take on the jasmine note. There's a little bit of orange blossom in this as well, but it's very fresh and citrusy, a little bit juicy and also powdery, but very, very fresh and floral. Feminine leaning fragrance, but there's no rules if you like floral notes. What I also like about that is it also has a little bit of a creamy effect. There's a Magnolia note in that one as well. So those are the three Gucci fragrances. Now we've got fragrances from the house of Hermes. I've got two of them here. I hope I have these fragrances in correct order. This is Eau de Pamplemousse Rose, part of the Cologne series of fragrances. Pamplemousse is grapefruit with the rose. I think it's a pretty good combo, right? This is part of the Cologne series, so they're Eau de Cologne fragrances, so they're very light. If you like fragrances that are stronger, maybe stay away from this one. But I feel like it's a great combo of the rose and the pamplemousse or the grapefruit together. Not super intense, as I said. Wear it on the hottest days. Wear it in the warmest days. It's quite nice. I think there's also an extract, not an extract of this, but a concentrate version of this as well, which I don't think I've ever worn, come to think of it. But the idea of the rose combined with the grapefruit is quite lovely. It's not as zesty or zingy as I wanted the grapefruit to be. Feels a little bit more balanced and also a little bit nondescript for citrus, but definitely pick up the rose with the grapefruit. Then we've got from the Jardin series of fragrances from Hermes. This is Le Jardin de Monsieur Lee. This is actually kumquat with jasmine. Kumquat. It's funny, my mom has a kumquat, a little kumquat tree, and it's always growing fruit is what I was going to say, little kumquats. And they're always very flavorful. Like they're very like tart, juicy, not sweet, but very tart and tangy, zesty. And what I like to do is wash them and just throw the whole thing in my mouth and chomp on them, because I eat the skin. The skin is bitter, but behind the skin is the fruit. It's all juicy and tart. Great flavor. And this is, to me, doesn't capture the tartness as much as I like it in the actual fruit, but it's a very floral take on the kumquats and the jasmine flower together. So this is part of the Jardin series. So they're eau de toilette fragrances that come like this. The series of fragrances that are colorful bottles like this are eau de cologne, but the Jardin series is eau de toilette. But really fun and fresh. It's got a little powdery effect as well, but I wanted the kumquats to be a bit more tangy tart, but it's not, sadly. All right, next we're going to the house of Hellenist. We have Le Chant d'Aquile. Is that how you say it? Who's a fan of this house? Very powdery, very fresh, soapy clean, orange blossom, neroli, together with juicy citruses. Super cozy. I love that soapy effect. It's very clean, perfectly fresh, not much warmth in the base. So you wear it when it's extremely hot and humid outside, and you feel refreshed and clean because it has that soapy effect. Really wonderful. So they're known for Le Bras de Morphe, which is in part of our previous Scent Club kit. If you're a fan of Iris and Violet, you should definitely check that out. But I think this is also pretty quality. Are you guys a fan? The brand will be represented at Scentfest SF, so if you haven't discovered that house yet, please come and check them out. It'll be a wonderful collection of brands and fragrances at the show. But let's go to the house of J.U.S next. It's Springpop. Why is this one right here? This to me is a musky, citrusy, fresh floral fragrance. Loads of musky notes in this one. There's a powdery effect. Juicy, a bit tart and astringent, lots of flowers. There's a little bit of a zest in here as well. The brand, I think, is known for, I think, a few other fragrances, but this one's definitely worth checking out. Springpop. All right, next we're going to Jo Malone's Orange Blossom. As I was saying earlier, look at the juice has gotten dark. And when I smelled it, it had gotten a bit honeyed. And as I was saying, I do get a honeyed effect when I smell citrus floral notes. When I first started wearing Jo Malone, I was wearing quite a bit of this. I remember one day I sprayed a bunch on, walked into an elevator. There was already 4 ladies in there at different ages. They loved my fragrance with this on. This was like years and years ago. This was like back in the early 2000s when I first started wearing that. But that experience has always remained with me because of how excited they were with the smell of Orange Blossom. But the thing is, I get similarities to Orange Blossom with Nectar from the House of Commodity, but I like it a little bit more because it has a bit more depth and a little bit more going for it. And I like the fact that Nectar has that freesia note, and it's also a lot more juicy, and it has the pomelo. Whereas the Orange Blossom from Jo Malone only is the Orange Blossom with some additional citruses. So it comes off a bit more simplistic, but it's also an eau de cologne. But I think for Jo Malone, it has great projection as a fragrance. Plus, it smells great. Really wonderful. But If I was picking between Orange Blossom from Jo Malone and Commodity Nectar, I would pick Nectar over it. But for me, this was the fragrance that started it all if I was balancing the two. But anyway, Orange Blossom from Jo Malone. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then we're going to the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur Histoire d'Oranger. I think they recently came out with an extract of that. Did they come out with an extract? I can't remember. I thought I read that. This is once again a really super awesome Orange Blossom focused fragrance. Very soapy, clean, and also powdery. Really nicely done. It's created by Marie Salamagna. I think that's her. And she did all the fragrances that I spoke about so far that were done, the brand Atelier d'Azur. But juicy citruses, powdery florals, clean and soapy, with some light, warm sweetness under all of those notes that I explained. I don't know. There's something very cozy about Orange Blossom and citruses. I just find them super soothing. Yeah, some can be tart, astringent, very sharp, but still, citruses to me are some of the best ingredients from the world. I love it. So that is Histoire d'Oranger, L'Artisan. Then we've got Neroli 36. Le Labo's Neroli 36 to me takes me into a solar, sunny, beachy direction. There's something underlying creamy in there, which acts a bit like sunscreen, which is a breath of fresh air when everything kind of starts smelling the same. This doesn't smell a lot like the same. That creamy layer that's in there that reminds me of sunscreen is nice. But is it my favorite kind of Neroli Orange Blossom focused fragrance? Not necessarily. I prefer the ones that are a bit more realistic to the way Orange Blossom Neroli smells. But when everything starts smelling like the kind I like, this one's kind of nice to smell. So there is a kind of a sunscreeny, beachy, lightly tropical effect happening with Neroli 36. Who's a fan? That's Neroli 36 from Le Labo. Up next, we've got... Let's see, how am I doing with my fragrances are out of order. Let's see. All right, next we've got a fragrance from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. It's called Magnolia Super Critique. This, to me, is lots of white flowers and yellow flowers with citruses. So the white bottles from this house are fresher, I should say. Not so deep like some of their other fragrances. But to me, Magnolia is sort of creamy. But I think this one also has maybe some ylang ylang or some mimosa. No, not mimosa. I think it's more like ylang ylang. So there's a slight tropical yellow floral touch effect. But this one comes off very creamy. It's also very fresh and cozy. This one's also very, very cozy because of that smoothness. You know, I love Magnolia and fragrances. Really do. One of my favorite white floral notes. I mean, I truly enjoy Orange Blossom. It's definitely my all-time favorite white floral notes, although I consider it more like a citrus floral rather than a white floral. But they are white flowers, obviously. But for me, once I get past that, Magnolia is super, like, smelling the magnolias off the trees are really awesome. But let's move on to the next fragrance from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. This is Neroli Super Critique. So Neroli Super Critique, much fresher and a bit sharper than the previous one, and a lot more citruses here as well. The juicy citrus effect is happening here quite a bit. This is also soapy, which Neroli Orange Blossom tends to come off like. The goal for this video was to put a video of citrus floral fragrances and not necessarily focusing on citrus flowers, but not very easy to find that category. So we ended up with a lot more citrus floral fragrances where the floral notes were citrus flowers, but you know, whereas the Magnolia Super Critique is more like that, but then Neroli Super Critique is more like the actual citrus flowers. Does that make sense to you guys? But this one's really quite good. The white flowers do tend to be kind of very clean and pure, I have to say. So that's Neroli Super Critique. Let's see, where are we at next? We're going to the house of Louis Vuitton. This is Le Jour Célèbre. What am I saying? Le Jour Célèbre. This one's super juicy. If you are a fan of juicy fragrances, super fresh, you really should check this one out. It's a nice combination of fruits, white flowers, and juicy citruses. Oh, wow. There's definitely fruits in here as well. There's a crispness, almost like a juicy, drippy green apple. This is so good. Really, really wonderful. It's a feminine targeted release. It does not smell feminine. It's more like your traditional eau de cologne, spiked with some fruits, a lot of white flowers, and very, very juicy citruses. I love that. It's super fresh too. Like if you love very fresh, fruity fragrances, fruity floral, check that out. Fruity, floral, citrusy. All right, we are going to, let's see, the order is correct. So we're going to the house of LT Piver next. We've got Reine de Fleur, the 2026 edition. I did a video with this brand, and they're going to be at our show. So if you want to discover this brand, please come. It's a resurrected brand, although the older fragrances are still selling. I'll talk about Rêve d'Or as well, the classic version, and I'll talk about the current 2026 formulation next. Rêve d'Or basically is a redo of the original in Eau de Cologne, more beefed up. It's very fresh, floral, juicy citruses, and woody amber in the base. There's a slight fruitiness in here as well. Maybe a slight green zing in there too. I am a big fan of the brand. My favorite is Heliotrope from the original collection. But I love Rêve d'Or, and I was in the south of France, and I needed to buy a duffel bag to bring back some stuff. And I walked into a store in Cannes, right across from the train station in the city of Cannes, and I saw their whole collection of fragrances. I love these vintagey looking things, so I ended up buying this, and I put in the duffel bag to bring back. But this is the brand. Go catch my video with the brand, and you'll learn a little bit more. They will be they're planning on opening up a store in Paris because they used to be one of the bigger brands at one time. Now we've got this next Rêve d'Or. Did I say that correct? So the first fragrance is à la Reine de Fleur. That's the first fragrance. It's King of Flowers, I believe. Reine or Queen of Flowers? Reine. I think it's Queen of Flowers. Sorry. I'm not the best in French. So this next one is Rêve d'Or. And Rêve d'Or, like I said, I have it here in the original, in Eau de Cologne, and now the new Eau de Parfum. Let's quickly smell this one. I'm going to spray the So the smells have changed a bit. They've been deepened. To me, the original is more classic, a lot more classic. Very powdery. And once again, I'm going back to Lure Blue. It's in that kind of a ballpark with the original. Now, with the redo, it's modernized, made a bit more woody, ambery in the base, but also has kept that kind of slight classic powdery kind of effect that you're familiar with the original. Yeah, the original is quite classic. So I think what they've done is modernized the original fragrances into much more modern fragrances. But both of these fragrances are awesome. I really love them. My two favorites from the line happen to be Heliotrope, which I love, and Curderusi. Really love those two. But these two are followed up with from the other two I just mentioned. All right, so that is LT Piver Rêve d'Or in the 2026 edition and also in the classic edition in Eau de Cologne. This is Eau de Cologne, right? Yeah, it says Eau de Cologne right there. The new version is Eau de Parfum. Let me know if you guys remember that brand. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the next fragrance, going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's Aqua Universalis Forte. There we go. Who's a fan? All right, this is a favorite fragrance of mine from the line. I've stopped wearing it for a while now, but for me, it brings back memories of when I first ventured into doing fragrance content and had gone to Neiman's and bought a bottle. It's a concentrated take on the original Aqua Universalis, which is very musky, very floral, and very citrusy. It's very clean, super, super clean as well. Also a lot long-lasting, I think. The original is very fresh, but this version does have, depth and intensity. So that's Aqua Universalis Forte. Let me know if you're a fan. When do we get a brand spanking, never ever released fragrance from the house? Nothing that has come out before. Come on. Let's get something new and really great. Maybe something more in the line of Grand Soir, Absolute Pour Le Soir. Something super cool, right, guys? All right, and then we've got Petite Matin from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Also a citrusy floral, but super clean. This came out together with Grand Soir. This to me is juicy citruses, but not super zesty. Clean and soapy, and also very floral with the orange blossom. But the way it's done, it's super balanced. Like, it doesn't reminisce like Eau de Cologne's like 4711, but there's light hints of that. It doesn't take it to a super citrusy direction because it's balanced with the floral notes. In there's also something tea-like happening. I don't know, maybe there is tea in there, like black tea or green tea or mate, because there's a super grassy effect happening within the fragrance itself. But it's really nicely done. That is Petite Matin. Love that. It's great. Juicy enough to drink and not be tart. All right, next we're going to the house of Maison Detto. This is Verdades. I think this is a Julien Rascanet creation. Look at the cap. It's a very dark. I think the This is what used to happen to Love Don't Be Shy when they first launched it. This is super dark. This, to me, it's orange blossom and citruses. It's super juicy. There's a peppery effect happening. Not only a peppery, like almost like hot chili pepper, but it's a nice contrast and adds like a layer of depth. Makes you wonder, whoa. But I feel like there's also tuberose in here, and a green tuberose, like not super ripe tuberose. Underneath it all, there is a slight Love Don't Be Shy like effect happening, and I think it's warming up, it's sweetening up. But it's quite good. I believe this is Julienne Rasquinet. By the way, keep mentioning our show. I think Julienne Rasquinet will be coming to our show. I think he'll also be on a panel. So those of you that are fans and you want to meet him, get your tickets. He'll be at our show. I think he'll be there all 3 days. Maybe 2, I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's coming with a brand that's launching a brand new fragrance, and he'll make an appearance. But this is really good, really nicely done. If you, it's a kind of a luxury brand, but slight indie-esque making. It feels a little bit edgy for the kind of fragrance it is, or the brand it is. Does it make sense? There's that peppery, almost like chili pepper effect contrasted with the citrus floral notes and the citruses and the tuberose like notes is kind of giving me a bit of an edge. And then it warms up and gets a bit sweeter. At that time, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Love Don't Be Shy. But great quality work here. I want to dig into Maison Detto a bit more, but it's a great start here with this video and this fragrance, Veritas. Let me know if you guys are familiar with that brand. What are your thoughts? Would you like to see a video on the whole entire collection? Let me know, add a comment below. Let me move on to Maison Violette next, or Violet Parfums. This is California Blossom. Great name. This is a parfum concentration, it says, right? Yeah. Still, my favorite fragrance from the house is Un Air d'Apogée. I love that fragrance. I prefer the original over the extract. The extract went into a more Middle Eastern kind of amber woody direction, but the original is so good. Really awesome. Here we've got a really great, fresh, soapy, clean and powdery, orange blossom focused fragrance. Nathalie Lorson created. They work with Nathalie Lorson exclusive, well, not exclusively, but mostly at Maison Violet. But very, very soapy here, super soapy. Very clean, but powdery. Who's a fan of this? California Blossom. I love that name. All right, next we're moving on to a brand called New Notes. First is Queen of the Sea. So it's citruses and rosy notes plus marine notes in an Extrait de Parfum concentration. Lots of amber molecules as well, amber woods. Wow. I've never noticed this before on this fragrance, but when I sprayed it, what I smelled was something very Baccarat Rouge-like. When I put my nose to it, it's more citrusy, rosy, and marine. It's a juicy kind of lemony notes here, but now that Baccarat Rouge-like ambroxan thing is reappearing. So there's a lot of those notes in here. I think makes the fragrance last longer for sure. I think that's what people like about this note. Some people hate it, obviously. Headache inducing for some people. It's super synthetic. I was I was one of those people. I don't hate it anymore. I mean, I couldn't stand Baccarat Rouge before at all. I like it here. Queen of the Sea. Then we've got Rosa Limon. Rose and lemon. The kind of fragrance that we're talking about here. Roses are flowers, and of course lemon is a citrus. This one doesn't have that ambroxan effect hitting my nose right away. This is more straightforward, kind of herbal. I think they have thrown in geranium in here. It's smelling like geranium, which is kind of a floral herbal thing. And the rose is not super rosy. The lemon is not super juicy either. Quite dry for a fragrance. I kind of like the other one more. But this is developing nicely. It's drying down nicely. Rosa Limon from New Notes. They have a new one. I think it's something to do with a citrus. I can't remember the name though. But I think the one they're known mostly for, the one that they're really popular, is Mandarino. Akigala Mandarino. I think that's what it's called. All right, let's move on to Nikos Parfums. This is Sculpture Parfum. Yeah, this is a cheapie. If you can find it for about 30 bucks, get it. To me, it reminds me of fragrances like Minotaur, because I wore quite a bit of that when I was in the early 90s. But it's also a really nice redo of the original Sculpture. It's a orange blossom and lots of citruses, and eventually it's ambery in the dry down. Not amber woods, but more like amber, but this is mostly a very fresh fragrance. So it doesn't have a lot of depth, but it does have a lot of amber in the base. So it sweetens up the fragrance, but up top you've got a lot of orange blossom and juicy citruses. It's quite good. Just taking the original and deepening it up. I think the original was created by Michel Almerac. Is that true? I think this version is not. But they've kept the DNA of the original. Now, the original of Minotaur... the original Minotaur was created by Michel Almerac, which Nikos Parfums Sculpture reminds me of, the original Sculpture. But if you like that, there's a fragrance that Michel Almerac did for his son's brand. Drawing a blank with the name. Parlez-moi de Parfum. And the fragrance is called Wake Up World, which we featured in a Scent Club kit 3 years ago. 2023, I think. Yeah. So this does have a little reminder of it. I think Wake Up World smells a bit more luxurious, smells a little bit more expensive. But if you're budget conscious, find a deal on this for 30 bucks, get it right away, because I think it's worth it. So that's Sculpture Parfum from Nikos Parfums. Next, going to the house of Nishane. We've got 3 fragrances from this house. We've got Colognisé first. Colognisé is typical, like your 4711 type fragrance. All kinds of citruses, all kinds of citrus floral notes. There's some light spices, some aromatic notes, and some woods in the base. Maybe some musk as well. It's very clean and soapy. It's just very cozy. You can smell the greenness. There's a little bit of greenness in there. Wow, I really dig this one. They have 3 now. They have the Colognisé, which is this one. They have the Saffron Colognisé, which has that saffron note, which gives it depth. It's a slight leathery touch. And then we have Hesperide Colognisé. But this is the original. Very soapy and clean. Nishane Colognisé. All right, next we've got Hacivat X. I think this is also a Julien Rasquinet creation. And I think he's taken the original and gave it this is Julien Rascanet, right? Or is it Dominique Ropion? It's basically jasmine has been added to the note and intensified. So basically it's the same fragrance. You've got the pineapple, the grapefruit. It's a bit screechy, but not as screechy as the original. It's cold, it's icy, it's fruity, it's woody. But this one has the overdose of white flowers thrown in. Which version are you a fan of? The original Hacivat or the X? Let me know. Add a comment below. So I just paused there to go check to make sure. Yeah, this is Julien Rascanet. And as I was saying, he will most likely be at our show. So get your tickets and I'll make the actual announcement once he's for sure coming. But I'm 99.9% sure he's going to be at our show. So that is Hacivat X from the house of Nishane. Let's move on to Tempfluo next, created by Enflippo. Super sexy fragrance that garners me compliments. This is kind of... She has a fragrance for the brand Reine de Saba, which I don't have here because it doesn't have citruses. But Tempfluo and Reine Maqueda is the name of the fragrance from Reine de Saba, have similarities, whereas Tempfluo has more citruses and Reine Maqueda is more powdery, musky. But it's got a kind of a pulpy, succulent, floral quality, super smooth and creamy. And you've got juicy citruses. And I think there's also musky notes and woods in here as well. But great projection, slight green notes running throughout it. And again, compliments for sure. It's very, very sexy, I think. So that's Tempfluo from Nishane. That's the third and final Nishane fragrance. All right, next, we've got a fragrance from the house of Nisaba. This is Mali Nadu. Mali Nadu. This, to me, is a tuberose bomb with a lot of citruses. So this is the kind of fragrance I was looking for. I wanted to make sure there's a variety in the mix of citrus floral. When you think of citrus floral, do you think of citrus flowers or do you think of citruses and floral notes? What do you think? It's a bit confusing, but, you know, in the end, there's more citrus flowers and citruses versus floral notes and citruses. This is what I thought would be a great example. It's very fresh. There's juicy citruses in this. It's clean and citrusy, but also very creamy with the tuberose feature in this. Now, remember I keep saying I'm a bit bored of tuberose. I kind of don't like it. This is very modern, so it smells great. For some strange reason, me being a fan of vintage fragrances, vintage tuberose is turning me off. I don't know why. But here, you got that succulent, creamy, almost pulpy quality of the tuberose, and it's nicely mixed with very, very fresh citruses. Who's a fan of Nisaba? And Nisaba will be at our show as well, guys. Come discover. They will be part of a booth of brands, and 99.9% sure they'll be there. So it hasn't 100% confirmed yet. This next week is the final week of confirmation, so we'll be announcing everything very soon. I'll do another updated video on the show and give you the whole entire list of brands and as much as I can tell you about perfumers visiting. And then probably a week after that, I'll do another video of all the panels we'll be doing. We've got some great panels that we've programmed. A lot to learn about if you come to the show. So let's move on to the House of Obvious. This is Une Fleur d'Oranger. You can get these fragrances fairly inexpensively, but when the brand launched, I felt like the fragrances were simplistic, easy, and you can layer. Like the Fleur d'Oranger, you can probably layer with woods. Maybe you can layer with rose. Maybe with like a poivre, they have a pepper. because it does come off simplistic. But this to me has a great smell to it. It's a bit more eau de cologne style, where they're using the juicy citruses with the flowers, maybe a little bit of the green leaves as well, of the bitter orange tree. And very simplistic take, but a great smell. Very cozy, very comforting, and very refreshing and soapy too. But yeah, these fragrances, the earlier obvious fragrances that were the pepper, the rose, the vanilla, the bois, which is the woods, the musk, what else was there? Patchouli, really great to layer with. If you have a bunch of these, I think start playing around and see. Like the orange blossom and the vanilla together kind of would create something like Love Don't Be Shy, and so on and so on. So many combinations you could do. But that's Une Fleur d'Oranger from the House of Obvious. Next, going to the House of Parfums de Marly. This is Athénée. There's my setup right there. All right, so Athénée is fairly new from the House of Marly. It's another feminine offering. I don't think it's going to be as big as Dalina. Dalina is the biggest fragrance for Marly. There's a slight candied effect happening here, so it's sweet. But it's a lot of freshness as well. Citrusy freshness. Who's a fan of this one? And who's a fan of Parfums de Marly's feminine fragrances? Let me know. Add a comment below. But this is a sweeter take on Orange Blossom and Neroli. Plus there's additional other white floral notes in this as well. But I am getting something sweet and candied. Not quite the effect of something like Love Don't Be Shy. Not as sweet and gooey like that, but something light, almost like a lozenge candy. But it's cute. It's a cute scent. Feminine leaning for sure. So that's Athénée. I think that's how you say it. Athénée from the House of Marly. All right, we're on to our third and final page. And this is not a full page, so we'll be done pretty quick. First fragrance is off the third and final page is Cap Neroli from the House of Parfums de Nicolai, or Nicolai Parfumeur Creator. I think the brand likes it when you use the name Nicolai Parfumeur Creator. But some databases say Parfums de Nicolai. So what do you guys say with the brand? By the way, they'll be at Scentfest SF. So if you're curious to discover some fragrances, please come. It's a great house, classic house from the late 80s. But Cap Neroli, I did a full review of it when I first launched this. It's a great scent. A little classic leaning for Neroli, not necessarily full-on modern, but super nicely done. You have I think the DNA has changed for the brand, but I think most recently. But here, underneath all of the notes, I'm picking up something like New York Intense, like the base of that fragrance here. Even though it's like about neroli and citruses, I'm picking up that kind of DNA that's also in New York Intense and fragrances like that. But that's what's giving it a little bit of a classic edge to the fragrance rather than being super modern. Does that make sense to you guys? Like their new gourmand fragrances, the 3 gourmand fragrances are super modern. I don't think the DNA is there. Even the new Fig Tea Intense, guys, if you haven't tried it, so good, so good. Much better than the original. The original was so light on me, but the new Intense Fig Tea, I think that's what it's called, Fig Tea Intense, super awesome. But this Cap Neroli is really, really great. It smells great. I love that kind of classic touch that's underneath there. That is Cap Neroli from Nicolai Parfumeur Creator, or Parfums de Nicolai. Then we've got 2 fragrances from the House of Parfums d'Ucita, first of which is Anamkara. This to me is a lot of citrus floral notes, plus like jasmine and notes like that. Maybe tuberose, I think I should say. Let me smell it real quick. Also, it's very powdery for a fresh, citrusy, juicy fragrance. I think there might be jasmine in here. But lots of citrus flowers and juicy citruses. It's very, very fresh and soapy once again. Super clean. Not one of my all-time favorites from the house, but definitely worth checking out if you haven't discovered the brand yet. And I should say, Pisara of the brand will be at our show with the brand. So you've got to come meet her and discover the brand, because if you haven't discovered this house, it'll be awesome. Plus, you might be able to smell the latest exclusive fragrance from the fragrance that she's created for the Mandarin Oriental. It's called Light of Bangkok, which is actually in our latest Scent Club kit, by the way, guys. If you haven't gotten that kit, please get it, because the fragrance is featured in there. But you can also come and discover the fragrance. I think she's going to have this fragrance because it's not available to sell at stores. I think it's only exclusively made for the Mandarin Oriental in Bangkok. And it's also sold at her own online store or physically in the store. But I think she'll bring some bottles if you guys want to check out, meet her, and discover the brand. But it is in the latest kit. But this is the second Dusita fragrance called Light of Bangkok. And it's lemongrassy, it's citrusy, it's floral, very much a tea-like effect, and also powdery. Like if you like fragrances like Thé Blanc from Bulgari, kind of reminds me a little bit of that, but more of a lemongrass edge. But it's clean. It's perfect for summer. It's fresh and powdery, as I said. Really nicely done. So that is Light of Bangkok from the House of Parfums Dusita. And before that, we did Anamkara. All right, I went back and forth about this next fragrance. I decided to add it, but it is a citrusy, rose-focused fragrance, but I mean, I get lots of lemon from it. So this is Paris Monte Carlo's Rose de Taif Extrait. And it's almost like lemon rose jam I'm wearing. Have you guys had rose jam? Do you enjoy eating rose flavored delicacies? But this is divine. Like my latest love from Paris in the extract concentration fragrances is the Vanita Tahiti, but this was my previous love. It's so super jammy and also a bit tart and astringent from the lemons, which is what I like about it. It's a nice balance, but there's definitely a peppery effect happening there. It's super awesome. Really, really love it. Smells so good. I wouldn't say it's the most citrusy, but you really notice the lemons. Anyway, that is Rose de Taif. In the extract, I don't have much experience with the eau de parfum, so I don't know how citrusy it is. For me, it was always the extract. Extract wins. It's so good, and you got to try it if you don't know it. Let's move on to the House of Fleur next. This is Golden Rule. Who's a fan of Golden Rule? Sorry, I'm getting a message coming at me. One sec. All right, Golden Rule is definitely a citrus floral, but something that's a lot warmer than some of the fresh fragrances I'm talking about here. It's also a bit creamy coconutty, but you really pick up fruits in here, slight candied effect, but very fresh and floral. There's a lot of floral notes in this. But eventually it adds depth, the depth develops and becomes warmer as it's drying down. But there's a freshness up top. It's actually pretty complex for some of the fragrances I've spoken about, because you've got the fruits, the coconutty powdery, solar effect, solar flowers, solar floral notes, and citruses, creating this kind of slight beachy effect happening and eventually developing into something warm. It's super cozy. I think there's pear in the notes in this one. Golden rule. Yeah, I think it has a bit of a golden effect. It's very solar to me. And speaking of solar, we've got solar power. It's funny, I've mentioned this story in a video before. When I first started wearing and testing this fragrance out, somebody that was near me that doesn't even wear fragrances fell in love with this and had to, like, they don't even buy fragrances. So they didn't know how to order it. So I had to guide them to order the fragrance, which is kind of cool because when I can turn people that are not into fragrances onto fragrances, I feel like I've accomplished my job, because not everybody is into fragrances, and sometimes they smell the fragrance on me and they fall in love with the way it smells, and then they're asking you where to buy it. So this is Solar Power. It's very very sunny, sunshiny, with a lot of citrus floral notes and juicy citruses. It's very fresh and slight bit, what do you call it? Like a little bit beachy, kind of. Not super beachy, but I think the slight creaminess that's in here is giving me a little bit of that kind of an effect. But in the end, it's clean, it's a bit soapy, it's very fresh, it's floral, and very cozy. Solar Power. Who's a fan? That's from the house of Fleur. Up next, going to the house of Prada, we've got Infusion Mandarin. This is one of the fragrances that I bought highly discounted. I took advantage because I have none of the fragrances of this collection from Prada. And I wanted to have, this was like, I don't remember how much it was, but like 89 or 99. I think the collection's around $100 each. So it was about 50% off. The Mandarin is Infusion Mandarin is what it's called. So for me, this collection is super powdery. Like, they're very, very powdery. And Prada does very powdery fragrances. But the Mandarin has a kind of a unique citrusy smell and taste. I was going to say taste first, but smell that I like. It's different than straightforward orange. But what I like about that here is quite juicy, a little zesty, and also powdery. You've got the powdery touch from Prada fragrances here. And also along the way, I think the orange blossom notes that are in here is creating the powdery effect. It doesn't go super astringent and tart, but I like that. I'm envisioning like a straightforward powdery offering from Prada, like Prada Amber Pour Homme for the guys, and just imagine laced with something Mandarin. That's kind of what I envision with this one. Do you guys agree? Infusion the Mandarin from Prada. Do you guys like this collection? If I can find more for really highly discounted prices, I'll pick up a few more. But that is Prada's Infusion Mandarin. Up next, we've got Ralph Lauren Polo Earth, the original. You can find great deals on these fragrances. To me, when Mugler Cologne was, not selling anymore, I was kind of recommending this as an alternative. It's a unisex offering, kind of similar, although Mugler Cologne is a very distinct, unique smell. I should say also, recently, Tom Ford's Taormina Orange reminded me a little bit of Mugler Cologne. I didn't put Mugler Cologne on here because I featured it recently. Kind of didn't want a repetitive video. But here, it's a great take on a citrus. Clean, soapy, floral, citrusy, a bit green, very fresh. It's kind of those fragrances that you would just get and put on over and over again. You don't have to put a lot of thought into if you should wear it. It's like an everyday kind of signature style scent. The cool thing is also it's a refillable bottle. So if you run out, you can get the refill and fill this up. I think it's quality. It's a unisex offering. It's kind of like 4711 Neroli Portofino, but branded with Ralph Lauren Polo Earth theme. Plus, we also have a flanker called Moroccan Neroli from Ralph Lauren. Lauren, I should say. I've been corrected. I think I found the 3 flankers that were launched together at the same time. I think there's a 4th one. There might be a sandalwood one. Is that correct? With the Moroccan Neroli in comparison to the original Polo Earth, I think it's Polo Earth Moroccan Neroli is what it is. It's a bit more zestier, I think. It's gotten a little bit more tart and juicy in comparison to the original. So the original, I think, is more like taking on the idea of 4711 like eau de cologne fragrances. And here they've given it a little bit of a twist, made it a bit more tart, juicy, still fresh, floral, citrusy, maybe a little bit musky and woody. But both of them are great. I think between the two, I can't decide which one. They're both soapy, very similar ideas, just going in a slight different directions, I think. I think the original should satisfy. Probably the original is also less expensive and much easier to find or readily available, whereas the others were flankers. I never saw them at Macy's, so it was really difficult to find, but luckily I had found them and I bought them. So check them out. Let me know which one you are a fan of. And again, all the products are also tagged if you're in the market for any of these. But let's move on to Ramon Monegal, Entre Naranjos. Who's a fan of this one? This is a super powdery citrus floral offering. I'm not sure what happened to my finger, but I cut it and like the whole skin has scraped off. I don't know what I did to it. And I get perfume on it and it starts burning. But it's quite juicy. It's very powdery and also very floral. One of the best from this house, I think. It's clean. It's clean. But, you know, what do you guys think about powdery? Do you find powdery fragrances to be clean? There's a slight greenness in this as well. And this also reminds me of Kobe. I wanted to feature Kobe. I can't freaking find my bottle anywhere. It's just gone missing. And sometimes I tuck things away, but I haven't tucked the Xerjoff fragrance anywhere. So I was going to feature it in this video, but I don't have it, sadly. But here, it's a nice work from this house. I have a full review on the channel as well. Go catch it. But this is Ramon Monegal's Entre Naranjos. All right, up next, going to the house of Reine de Saba. This is Aksum, another Dominique Ropion creation. Totally different than Cologne Indelible, by the way. This is not just orange blossom. There's a lot of other citruses in this. I'm sorry, not just orange blossom, I should say. There's a lot of other white floral notes in this. But it's fresh, very floral, very citrusy. There's a little bit of musk in there as well. You'll notice it. It's got a bit of funk. It's different. Like, it doesn't smell like every other fragrance here. It doesn't smell like his Cologne Indelible because of that muskiness. There's a slight funk in this. Adds a little bit of dirty to mostly a clean fragrance, you know? Because citruses and citrus floral notes are quite clean to me. Are you a fan of Aksum? Let me know. Add a comment below. All right. We've got just a few more fragrances left. We're off to Rocha with Eau de Rocha Citron Soleil. I don't have the latest version of Sun Song from Louis Vuitton, so I left it off. This does remind me of Sun Song, the original in the yellow bottle, and I find it to be a great alternative. It's clean and soapy, it's citrusy and fresh, and also citrus floral notes like neroli, orange blossom. Super juicy as well. It's a great alternative. If you don't want to pay the price of Louis Vuitton, this is, you can find it for probably under $100. maybe. And I think it should satisfy if you're trying to replace Sunsong. It's nicely done. Kind of a similar name too, like Sunsong, Citron Soleil. Yeah. So that is Rocha, Eau de Rocha, Citron Soleil. I think the collection is targeted. I think it's very unisex. Sunsong is unisex offering. This is targeted to the ladies, and it's very similar. I don't think it's feminine at all. I mean, some people might think Orange Blossom leans feminine, but I think it doesn't personally. Anyway, let's move on to Sospiro's Dolce Melodia, another one that has a lot of depth for a citrus fragrance. Citrus floral notes, ambery notes, fruity notes, massive trail, great projection, compliments. Yeah, it's citrusy and it's floral, but it's also fruity and it's quite deep and intense. I love this fragrance. Not tired of it. It smells great. It smells great on skin. It projects like crazy. One of the best from Sospiro. Which one is your favorite? Is it Vibrato, which is in a kit, by the way, or is it Dolce Melodia, which we featured in a kit a long time ago? Love that fragrance. Do you consider it a citrusy floral? I think it's more than a citrusy floral, but it is a citrusy floral fragrance. You've got a lot of citruses and floral notes in there. Now let's move on to Tower Perfumes. We've got Cologne du Maghreb. So I remember when I first met Andy Tower in the mid-2010s, he had this fragrance in a different bottle, but it didn't last. Like, it was shelved fast. And then he brought it here in this version. And this is quite citrusy. It's quite floral. It's a bit green, but for sure you have the Tower odd. The Tower Perfumes DNA is fully intact here. If you're familiar with L'air du Désert Marocain, if you're familiar with any of his fragrances, you'll really pick it up here. So in the end, you have this freshness, this citrusiness, this citrus floral touch, and then that DNA that you're so familiar with that Tower Perfumes is known for. So that adds a unique layer. It's like, it smells and doesn't smell like other citrus floral fragrances. Anyway, that's Cologne du Maghreb. I think it's also kind of playing off of L'air du Désert Marocain theme. All right, next we're going to the house of the Harmonist, and it's another fragrance that's super deep. This is Flora Nebula. I love this fragrance so much. It smells so super fantastic. I really, really love it. The pulpy effect, that creamy kind of succulent effect in this is what I love about it. And this effect also gives me a little bit of a shampoo texture and smell. So I think the Harmonist uses Givaudan perfumers because I smell Givaudan all over this perfume. I can't remember. Well, originally the brand used Guillaume Flavigny as perfumer, but I can't find the name of the perfumer of this one. But it's fresh, it's warm, it's deep, it's floral, it's creamy, it's ambery. It's just super awesome. And not like all the other fragrances I spoke about, which are a lot more deeper, have a lot more depth. So this is a citrus floral fragrance that has a lot more going for it than just citruses and floral notes. But I wanted to feature it here because it's so good. Beautiful bottle, beautiful color bottle as well. I love that. So let me know if you're a fan of Flora Nebula. Highly recommend it. Then we're going to the house of Thomas de Monaco with Jade Amour. I love this one too from this house. Out of the three, this is my favorite that he launched together with the perfumers. the young perfumers. This one is very fresh and citrusy, slight tart, but it's got a bit of an animalic floral touch. So this might be a bit edgy for people that don't like the animalics. To me, the flower smells a bit like decaying flower, similar to the flower in Vanilla Tahiti from Paris Monte Carlo that I recommend. So it's got a little bit of an animalic funk here. So be warned, but I love this. It smells so good. It's a bit pissy, so be warned. Musky and pissy, but quite good. It's a fragrance about futuristic flowers. From Thomas DeMonico, it's called Jade d'Amour. Up next, going to the house of Tom Ford, it's Eau de Soleil Blanc. Soleil Blanc taken into a watery, fresh direction. You still have that creamy texture, tropical texture, but it's very fresh with a lot of citruses and citrus floral notes. Very, very cozy. And very delicious, too. Who's a fan of this one? So, it's not like the original, I think, has more depth. It has a bit more of a gourmand tropical edge. They've given this one a lot more freshness, and I think they've amplified the orange blossom and they've added a juicy, citrusy effect. But it smells great. It's really, really great smelling. And then we've got another Tom Ford. This time it's Taormina Orange, which I had in the Summer Zingers video last weekend. This to me is reminding me of Mugler's Cologne. Does it remind you of Mugler's Cologne? Not a little bit? A little bit maybe? It's very fresh and very citrusy for sure. Quite juicy. But it's got that kind of similar smell that I get in Mugler Cologne. This does smell a lot more luxurious. It smells like material-wise, it smells a bit more expensive compared to Mugler Cologne, which is not that expensive. But it reminds me of it. Try it, compare it, and smell it and see what you think. I actually this one has grown on me quite a bit. In fact, I enjoyed it when I first smelled it. I think it's a great summer scent for sure. Really wonderful. So that is Taormina Orange. Finally, it's out. It was supposed to come out last year. It was delayed. Now it's here, and I think it's definitely worth it. Try and find a deal for it, though, because it is quite pricey. Now I'm looking forward to the Parfum edition of Tobacco Vanille and the Tobacco Chocolat. Those are sounding so good. I can't wait to get my nose on those. I'm assuming they'll come out very soon, just in time for autumn. Can't wait for those. If anybody's gotten their nose on those somehow, let us know. Add a comment below. Then we've got two fragrances from Van Cleef & Arpels. This is California. I should say, yeah, this is Van Cleef & Arpels California Reverie. I'm sorry, I thought I had something out of order and I was going to switch it around, but I think I'm going to keep it the way it is. California Reverie is a lot of citrus flowers and a lot of jasmine with juicy citruses. It's very, very fresh. Just imagine walking through a citrus and jasmine grove. I think the jasmine is overpowering the citruses, but there's also a lot of juicy citrus fruitiness in there. But it's super, super fresh. One of the best from the Van Cleef & Arpels Collection Extraordinaire. Sadly, I think this collection has been removed from Neiman Marcus. which is a bummer. But this is great. It's a great smell. Who's a fan of California Reverie? Let me know. Add a comment below. And I do have one more from the same collection. This is Neroli Amara. And it's a Quinton Biche creation. So the Quinton Biche creation that is a Neroli take on Fleur Narcotique. I'm looking for the parfum of this fragrance. I want to find the parfum because I love this one so much. It's quite good. But it's Quinton Biche's signature take on Neroli with that whole Fleur Narcotique kind of styling. So he also has done, he's done the Parfum edition of this. There's also an exclusive fragrance that he has done for Van Cleef & Arpels that you can only buy in their perfume shop in Paris called Vendôme, which is on the Place Vendôme, which is also kind of similar to this fragrance. But this is one of the best. Neroli Amara, super awesome. It's a Neroli fragrance that reminds you of Neroli, but am I smelling Neroli like a Neroli fragrance, or am I smelling Fleur Narcotique? It has a slight fruitiness, but then it's Neroli, it's orange blossom, it's citruses. So good. Really one of the best, I think. Let me know if you're a fan of Neroli Amara. And let me know if you've tried the Parfum edition of that. Is it worth it? And what about Vendôme? The Vendôme that is exclusive to their store, I don't know if it's still selling. I hope it is, because I've wanted to buy one. You can never find that discounted. It's exclusively at that store, which is also, I think, a little bit like Neroli Amara, but it's a bit different. It comes in a bit more detailed bottle. So it's a similar bottle, but it's a bit more detailed. All right, so that last fragrance was Van Cleef & Arpels Neroli Amara. And last but not least, we've got Quinto Canto's Cicuta. So I was wondering if this probably should have gone before the Van Cleef & Arpels, but it's fine. We're doing it in this order. So recently I did a video on Quinto Canto fragrances that they're very highly discounted. Go catch that. This is very floral, a bit honeyed. It's sweet and citrusy. Also, this is Extrait de Parfum. It's a bit rosy, giving me a little bit of the idea of Paris Monte Carlo's Rose de Taif. But the rose is a bit non-distinct compared to Rose de Taif. You pick up the rose, but to me, Rose de Taif is much rosier in comparison to this. This rose in this is a bit more dry, a little bit more aromatic, but it's there. You'll notice it for sure. Along with the citruses, the flowers, the freshness. Anyway, that's Cicuta from Quinto Canto, or V Canto. That's the last fragrance for you guys. Anyway, back to doing these deep dive videos. Let me know what kind of themes you want for summer. It is almost summer, and Scentfest will come and go. Our dates are June 26, 27, and 28. I'm going to take some time off after, and I'll get back on the swing of things and start shooting longer videos. Although by the time I get back on the swing of things, it'll be midsummer, and then I'm probably leaving to Europe early September. So hopefully I can cover a bunch. But if you have any, if you want any specific videos done, let me know what they are. And I've been wanting to do Iris. I want to do Iris very soon. And I want to do 100 Iris fragrances. I don't want to stop at 75. But yeah, Iris is one that I want to do. But if there's any other deep dive videos that you guys are interested in, let me know. Add comments or send emails so I can see them. I want to focus on summer, during the summer, but I should do a bunch before I leave to Europe. I'll probably be gone for about a month again. I'll be going to Petit Fragranza and also for TFWA. But yeah, I'll be getting back to the swing of things. Let me know if there's any requests for any specific videos. Are there any fragrances you want me to review? At a comment below. And don't forget to get your tickets to Scentfest SF. It's going to be a pretty epic first show, guys. So you don't want to miss out. Come out, get your tickets, get your travel plans coordinated and arranged, and come and celebrate fragrances here in San Francisco for the first Scentfest SF. I've got the link to the website in the info box, and also all the information for the fragrances. If you're in the market for any of these fragrances, they are timestamp tagged as well. And I usually tag the least expensive prices for any of these fragrances. So you can click through the chapters and land on a fragrance that I'm talking about. And the product is usually on the bottom left, a little round bottom button that you can click on, and it opens up a window on the side, on the right side, and then it has the list of products. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it with everybody. Interact with the video. It helps with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Click that bell icon. It helps get the video out to as many people as it can. That's helping with the algorithm. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.